So I have like Indian nationality, right? But my ethnicity is like from Tibet, right? I was able to sell like around 5,000 copies of like the first Khandro Sangmo issue, and I was like, and I think even my parents were very like shocked that like okay, it's doing pretty well, like especially self-published debut artist, and like I really had no idea like before I came to Dharamshala, I only knew like Tashtile, I knew like Oman Epemehu, like that's about it.
The decision of sort of pursuing art in the first place, is it just it came out of the blue, or just I'm also curious in like as a child you were interested sort of you were into drawing, you were sketching.
A mural like this would actually be so cool to have it empty, but then I think not many people believed in that vision, and finally when this was executed, the people of MT loved it, and the settlement office, they approached the Khadok team and said that they want to do the whole area around the murals. Nice. So right now there's talks of designing 6 more murals in that region. I had a lot of fun with this. It's currently under production. Easy Tibetan will be selling it. I was just like the artist who was commissioned to design the cards, and then I think it went a little bit viral in the community, right? Like, I got a lot of engagement there, and everybody's like, when? And they were like, soon. And now they're like, when, I'm like, very soon, we're still.
So when can we expect the card?
Honestly, just this morning, I think we submitted the final files. Yeah, we had actually submitted like, I think 3 weeks ago. In my mind, I'm always like, no, I have to work, because I feel like art is like a difficult thing. It's hard to sell. It's hard to make money off of it. But then I feel like I'm being able to do that right now. And if I'm not grateful for it, if I don't work hard enough, it might get lost. This momentum might get lost, and then I'll be the one crying later. When I'm here, I should try and do a little bit more because the Free Tibet movement is alive, and there's not enough participation, I thought.
So, Lobsang, how are you doing? How's everything?
I think, honestly, it's very fun, I think, like how everything is going right now. I just finished some pretty cool projects. Also recently released my digital release from my latest comic, Gyelsa, Bhelsa, like only the first part, but still it's a release I did. And I also have some pretty cool projects coming up. It's honestly been such a ride. I'm so grateful for everything that's happening, and I have amazing friends in Dharamshala or like even back home. Like I'm just like very happy with how everything is going, honestly, and I want to just like ride the wave, like the moment that is happening right now. I want to keep it going, and I want to like while being grateful, I want to keep working really, really hard, and also while this is my youth, I want to like enjoy, I want to like have fun and keep working hard. Yeah, like I'm pretty happy at the moment, honestly.
So last time we met, I think it was at the Tibetan Youth Festival in TCV.
Yes.
We spoke a little about the works you were doing.
Yes.
So before we sort of talk about your works, can you just share about your background, where you're from?
Okay. So like a little introduction, yeah?
Yeah, sort of a little introduction.
Okay, so my name is Lobsang Soepa. I'm 26 years old right now. I am from Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh. I was born there. Since childhood, like my parents, so I have like Indian nationality, right? But my ethnicity is like from Tibet, right? But then they never thought that it would be very difficult for me to learn Tibetan. They thought it would just come very naturally to me. But then, and that's why they thought like since I have to compete in like the Indian market, in terms of jobs, in terms of like most of my things, they put me in Indian boarding schools since childhood. So I went to like Indian boarding schools, English medium schools since childhood, literally from kindergarten until class 12, and I could never learn the language. So I was so intertwined with the Indian culture, I think, and also like since I'm from Northeast, I'm also a Northeastern person, right?
Yeah.
So I was so away from my culture, from like the Tibetan culture, and I was so with the Indian culture and with being a Northeastern, that I totally lost track of like this whole side of like life, and I reconnected way later. So yeah, since I was in boarding school always, I would spend maybe like 2 months at home every year, and that's when like language would not be a priority. You know, it would just be like, yeah, like what food I want to eat, I
Yeah.
want to sleep, I want to relax,
Sure.
like all of that, and then that went on for forever, and towards the end I realized I really had no idea like before I came to Dharamshala I only knew like Tashtile, I knew like Omane Peme Hum, like that's about it, but then when I came here, it was a very, very different feeling, you know. But then, like that was like my childhood, though. Should I
So
speak more about it?
you finished, you did your schooling in Tawang itself, or you
No, no,
went out of
no.
your state or something?
So yeah, like first from nursery to like class 5, I studied in this school near my house. Not near my house in a sense, it was like 200 kilometers away, but it was a pretty nice boarding school, which was it was a small boarding school, but they were really popular because of their way of education. And like the kind of products that they would have, the kind of students that would come out of that school were pretty like they had pretty good IQ, you know, and
okay.
they would be good at English. So my mom ended up sending me there. After class 5, she felt like there was like a change was required, you know, like you got to go to a little bit more broader area. And then I found like an opening to study in Sainik School in Nagaland,
Okay.
which from class 6 to 10, and that school was also amazing. I think it was a really good school. Of course, all schools have their ups and downs, but
Yeah.
personally, I feel like my school, childhood school, the school as well, they were pretty good. I feel like I got really good education there, met really good people, really cool teachers. 11, 12, I ended up going to this school in Siliguri, Himalaya International,
okay.
yeah. And that's where I met a lot of like my other friends. That school was a little bit different. I wouldn't say the best school, honestly, for my 11, 12, but then I ended up having to choose that school because of like the delay in the results coming out, my metric results, right? And then ended up going there. And then after 11 and 12, I went to Bangalore for like, I wanted to take art in Bangalore. I didn't want to study anymore, you know, after 12. I was a pretty good student, actually. I would get decent grades, but especially when I was younger. And then 11 and 12, I think my grades went down a little bit. You know, that happens, I think, when you've been studying pretty diligently your entire life and then you keep getting praise for it. But after a while, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm a good student, you know, I'll probably get the grades. I kind of became like that, but 11, 12, I think I did not score the best marks. And then, by that point, I kind of also had this little bit of a rebel mindset. I think I was kind of like, yeah, I'm never gonna do a 9 to 5 job. I don't want to work in corporate. I'm like, a marriage is a construct. Society is like this and that. You know, I had all of these preconceived notions. I think by that age already. And then when I went to Bangalore, I was like, I want to study art. But then I also thought about it realistically. I was like, in this era of studying art, it's gonna be expensive, you know. And I personally felt like the kind of art schools that I could see in Bangalore were really not the best. I thought they're just going to teach you how to use the softwares and not really teach you like quality art education that is so much better in the Western countries, I think. But then again, that's very expensive, right? So I kind of like closed my box, you know. I was like, no, it's fine, like screw it. Like art is probably something that only some people can study and not for me. So I ended up so while I was not sure what I want to study, I ended up joining like a bachelor's in art psychology and everything because my friends were taking that course. I ended up just like, okay, I'm gonna join you guys and I'm gonna study this as well. And then so yeah, I ended up studying in Christo Jayanti in Bangalore for like 3 months, and within 3 months I found this really cool studio near my college. So basically I was participating in like this contest on stage, and there was this guy, we were not close, but one of my friends, he saw me on stage and then they asked me a question. It was a psychology competition, yeah, in like the school at some festival, right? He asked me, if not psychology, what else would you be doing right now? So I was like, if I had the option, I would have studied animation, I would have studied art, you know? And then this friend of mine heard that answer of mine and he said, like after the event ended, he came up to me, he's like, dude, like, you know, I'm working at this, I work part-time for this studio over here in Bangalore. I think it's a really cool studio. And like, if you want to come, just like come and hang out because I heard you say this about art. So I went there, I saw the studio set up. It was run by this American family. The studio head, he had worked for Disney and he came to India with the hopes of teaching people animation in India. So it was pretty unique, you know. And then the kind of students that were there, the kind of I saw like their sketchbooks throughout the year, you know. I felt like when they came in and after a year, their sketchbooks, the drawings had just improved by so much. And I felt like, you know, if I improve at this rate, I could also like, if I could become like them, I think my art will elevate and I could actually like be able to make decent art, you know.
Yeah.
Now I have no idea if I did not think I'll be able to make money off of it. I was not sure about any of that. But then at that point I was just like, I really don't want to study anymore. And I think that 2-3 hours that I went to that school, I talked to the principal and met the students there. It was a really, really cool studio. There were birds everywhere because we used to do live drawing. We have to draw the birds, right? They used to have like rabbits in like the studio. They would take them home and then bring it back the next day. There were like 3 or 4 dogs in that place. And then just music playing, and then we would have like, we'd watch movies and then decipher these movies, you know, and like debate like what is good about them, what did not work, like a lot of discussions. Like, and then they showed me like the whole curriculum. It was all very like, not like the Indian way of teaching, you know. It was very Western, I think. So I felt like it was pretty cool. I thought like, this kind of stuff has been missing in my life, and I would like to be a part of this, you know. And it was just, I think I had this like huge adrenaline rush within me, you know. I'm like, it's such a big step I'm going to be taking. I'm going to have to talk to my parents. I want to quit this school. I want to quit my college, and I want to join here, you know. But I did that. I did exactly that. I went back to my apartment. Next day I booked a flight, went home. Stayed there for a month. I kept telling my mom and my dad, you know, I don't want to do that anymore. My dad was like, whatever you want, you know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but like, yeah. My mom also was like, sure, like you can do this, but then I don't know what's going to happen with art.
Yeah, definitely.
But they were just like, but we have to give you the opportunity because you're asking for it right now, you know. And if you don't give it, then it's not going to be cool of us in the future.
Sure.
So something like that happened. After a month, I came back. I resigned from my college, and I ended up studying there for 2 years.
Okay.
And the kind of approach they had at that art school was just really cool, I think. It was, they would take, because it was a studio, plus like a little school where they were teaching students, right? Plus they would have like on time, like live projects they were working on, like some mobile games maybe, some apps, some comic books, you know. And then they would also make us work on those projects. So like whatever our skill level was, you know, maybe the littlest things, but they'd be like, maybe you can do the storyboarding, and we'd do it, and then the director would just improve on it. Right?
So is it just when you were in the art school, is it just an animation, or is it just a sketching or life modeling or art? Or?
So animation was a big thing in that art school, but the thing is, animation in India is just so niche, you know. It's like some studios just have all of the work, right? And it's hard to get animation gigs here and there, I think. And like even if you get animation projects, the pay grade is so low. So even though the school was for animation, I think the most projects we would get was for different stuff, you know. And to keep the studio alive, they would take any projects, you know. They would take whatever projects best suited them. So yeah, we would end up doing like a lot of like I said, comics and like character design for games, maybe the background design, concept art for games, mobile games, and like so, like a lot of other things, yeah. And then he would try to incorporate us in that. And I think, and in the 2 years that I studied there, we used to do a lot of live drawing, like actually art education, I think, actual art education, you know, there. And he'd also make sure that we'd go and meet other artists in the community in Bangalore. We met so many other artists. We had such a good art community, and I felt like any doubts I had, I could just go to any of these artists from this community, and they would help me out. So honestly, in 2 years after I studied there, I felt like I also started getting like gigs here and there, like okay, like work on this project. It's not like crazy amount of money, but yeah, I was getting some stuff here and there. And that's when I also kind of realized that my principal also kind of taught us that what is the difference between an art school and what's the difference between like studying at home, you know. If you study in an art school, it's like you have a mentor in front of you. So if I'm at home, I could be studying a subject, right? And I could be doing it wrong, but I wouldn't know what am I doing wrong. And that's what makes when you're studying at home, so much more longer, so much more lengthier. But if you're in the studio, I'm doing something wrong, the instructor would just come like, this is wrong, fix this. So you improve at a much faster rate.
You have all the resources also.
Exactly, yeah. And I also realized if you study in like NID, the best thing could be like, of course, the fact that there are mentors there, but the even bigger factor is the alumni from that school. You have a really good networking, you have a really good network there. So the alumni, they always try to hire people from their schools, right? From wherever they graduated from. So if you're good in your school, you already have a network. So those are things like he would teach us, you know, all of these things. And after 2 years, I felt like now, because I was paying an amount of fees in that school, and I was like, it was a little expensive. So I was like, I think it's time for me now to move out of the school and study on my own. I already have an art community. The principal over there would always help me anytime I needed, right? And the art community over there, there were some really, really cool artists, studio heads, you know, whom I could just go up to and be like, I'm really struggling in this oil painting that I'm trying to learn. I'm struggling in like this anatomy, and they would be, because they're literally the nicest, they would just help me out. And I left art school like that, and then, I mean, of course, even now I'm still studying. I'm studying through online platforms. There are so many good online platforms right now to study from, and it's so much more cheaper than art school. And it's literally because of this art community in Bangalore. I feel like my whole trajectory for like learning art and like taking art as a business, working on art and trying to sustain myself through art has become so much clearer, you know. So I'm just like, I'm so grateful to whatever happened to me in Bangalore. Yeah, it's been amazing.
I'm just curious, you know, like when you joined the art school, you know, I'm just curious that, you know, the decision of, you know, sort of pursuing art in the first place, you know, is it just it came out of the blue, or just I'm also curious, you know, like as a child you were interested, sort of, you know, you were into drawing, you were sketching or something that, you know, is it a sort of a thing that you were pursuing since childhood, or is it just something you acquired, or?
I used to draw for sure when I was a kid. Nothing great. I would do like a lot of graffiti style work, just like writing down names and putting designs over it. I would do a lot of sketches. I would try to do a lot of like portraits, you know, like take a photograph and like copy that photograph. I would do a lot of stuff like that. And would make me feel pretty good because if I did something right, people praise me, right? And like, oh, then I feel better about myself, you know, that dopamine. All of that happened. In school, honestly, like if I were to tell you like a really personal story, there was this friend of mine. He was never diagnosed, but I feel like he was kind of like on the spectrum, you know. But he was like this brilliant, brilliant guy, and especially in terms of art. Like he was just this person who had taste, you know. I mean, he was like, we were in 8th standard, I guess. I don't know like how good of that taste was, but then whenever he would talk to me, whenever I would talk about anything, hearing anything from his perspective was just so different, you know. And he would draw. When he drew, because he never studied art, but then he would draw like how the masters would draw. Like, so if I were to draw, when I would sit down, I'd start from the eye, you know, outlining the eyes, and then going to the face. But he would start with the bone structure of the face. So he was like that kind of an artist. When he would draw a tree, he would draw the foundation. He would start from the roots. He would draw like how the roots come up and how the trees form. So all of his drawings were very 3D, and then we were good friends actually. We would just hang out all the time, and then he would just, I mean, he would never teach me, but he would just keep drawing. He would just keep talking through his process, you know. And I would always be like, wow, that's amazing. I would never be able to copy whatever he's doing.
Sure.
But he would always, if I'm drawing something, he could always work on it as well, improve it for me. And his ones would always be so much better, you know. But then this friend of mine, like, he kept teaching me, like, because I kept staying with him and then we kept drawing together, I feel like my interest just increased over time, right? But then later in life, like even with him, his parents did not want him to take art, and then even me, I did not feel like I would be able to like survive taking art, you know. And then that's how it ended up when I left my school in Nagaland and I went to Siliguri. I would still draw there because there were still art students there, and I would help them with their projects because I was always into art. The art teacher over there in my high school was also pretty fond of me because I would help everyone with like the art projects and all. He would keep trying to push me and try to like make me make more art, you know. So it was always that. But for sure, I think sketching since childhood and having that friend by my side was one of my biggest inspirations since childhood, I think.
So last time, you know, when we met, you know, you have done the comic version of the Tibetan opera, Drowa Sangmo. So what sort of, you know, prompted you to, you know, make comics and also on the Tibetan opera?
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, I started getting gigs here and there in Bangalore, right? When I was in that studio and I was also working as a freelancer, I would work on a lot of books, a lot of comics here and there. Now these comics were different variations of the Mahabharata, Ramayana, different variations like Bible. I think we worked on so many different kinds of Bibles. We worked on mystery games on like different characters from the Bibles, you know. And I kept working on these projects, and it was always like such a rush, you know, like because there's like so many artists to choose from in Bangalore. you don't even get credits in these books because you're just like one of the artists, you know, out of like, I don't know, 100, 500.
Yeah.
There would be, we would meet with people who work for Amachitra Katha and they would give us gigs for like coloring books from there, coloring the pages, but there would be no credits. And so slowly I started feeling like I'm trying to work so hard, I'm trying to fit in so hard and with this community, trying to add to their culture. And my studio head, Leo, like this this American person, he would keep asking me stories from my culture. He would ask me, is there stuff, you know, that is like, that would intrigue everyone, you know? And I'll be like, yeah, there's so many stories out there. But I do not know them properly, but I'm like, yeah, I will research and I will let you know, you know? And then that's when I started feeling like, why am I trying so hard, you know, when like no one is going to reward me for putting in this much effort. There's so many more people who have already done, like, because these Buddhist comics have already, like, I know Ramayana so well, you know. I know Ramayana, I know Mahabharata so well. I think a lot of us know because of all the animation, all of the, first of all, there are comics, but they already have like animated movies, no? Because I watched so many animated cartoons on Ramayana, Mahabharata, Krishna, like on TV. So much Kalima, what is it? Shift, like
Shift.
the Ganesh, you know, like there's so many, right? It used to be so fun as well. All of that happened. And I was like, yeah, I'm working so hard. I'm trying to like put a bit in so hard with like these people. I'm trying to like, I want to work for you, I want to work for you. And all that changed when I came to Dharamshala, you know. 2021, 2022, I think. I was, like I said, away from this culture. I had no idea what it was like being Tibetan. I had like literally no idea, And I came to Dharamshala because one of my friends from London, she was going on a road trip here. And then some of my other friends were like, let's all meet in Himachal. Somewhere, I don't know where, but we were like, we're all going to go from different places, we're going to meet here. And then we ended up going to Kasol site, we hung out there, but then some things happened and they had to, my friend had to leave back home because of some family emergency. And I was like, okay, now I stayed there for 1 or 2 more days and I was like, okay, let's go to Dharamshala side, I thought. I was like, yeah, let me check out, you know, this culture. I come here and then just like, it felt like homecoming. Because you see, you know this roads here, you know the crazy taxi fares over here. So I would be like, okay, I'm on a budget, I want to walk around, you know. I had like my big backpack with me. I would stay in Baksu, Gangi, Dharamshala. I stayed in different hotels everywhere. So while I'm walking around, Tibetan people, I guess they could just see my face. They were like, oh, you want a lift, you know? I would get lifts here and there. And I feel like, wow, that's so nice, you know, they're being so nice to me when and they don't know me, you know? And then, of course, I saw my mom wearing chupas, right? So I know about chupas, I know about the male chupa. I also had chupas, right, when I was a kid. I would see people just wearing chupas here, roaming around. Tulak Khan, I never knew the significance of His Holiness before, you know? But then my mom made sure that I got Chega that time, right? And then wherever I would see His Holiness, because I had met His Holiness before during an event in Arunachal. So I was like a kid, and then I was the one holding the chime, right? So whenever I would see him, one time even in school, his helicopter was landing, and then I see this red color figure coming out of the helicopter. From our school, it's like a little far away, and it's like a little, because our school was like in a valley, right? So you could see like the little flat area, and you could see like that figure come out from the helicopter, right? And a lot of the kids from my school, we were all crying, you know. I was also crying, right?
I'm sure.
And I'm like, what do I know about His Holiness? You know, why am I crying, right? And now I don't know what is he teaching. I don't, like my parents would tell me, but I was a kid. I did not pay any interest in his teachings, right? But then there's something in me that makes me feel all these emotions when I see him, you know? And so I would always be like, I don't know if I believe in God, but I feel something for His Holiness. I would always feel that, of course. Now, of course, I know how significant. I'm like mind blown, and I feel like everything, like, you know, it's just overwhelming, you know, like his presence, right? And like how much ever He has done for us. It's just, I mean, like, well, you know, like there's nothing that can be said, right? So all of this thing, when I came to Dharamshala, this whole vibe that I got, it felt amazing. It felt like a homecoming. It felt like, yeah, this is where I belong, you know? I feel like this is where I should try to do more. This is the culture that I should try and make an effort to be a part of, rather than like all of that is done, you know, whatever happened in Bangalore, I learned from it. But now I feel like when I'm here, I should try and do a little bit more, because the Free Tibet movement is alive, and there's not enough participation, I thought. I felt like that, you know, especially from me and like a lot of my friends who are also like me, you know, who are so have been so drifted away from their culture and like are trying to blend in with like the Indian audience right now, Indian society right now, you know. And then around that time, I also went around. I went to some cafes. I had cousins here, you know. I had some friends. They would see my work, and then somehow I got linked to CTA, and then I got offered like some gigs to illustrate some books for CTA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I sent them my portfolio, right? And then I went back home and I illustrated some books, maybe like 2 books for CTA around the next 2-3 months, and then those books, I think one was Nangsa Vugum. Yeah,
Interesting.
one was Nangsa Vugum, and then it was just like one page would be written, another page there would be the illustration, right? So it was these kind of books I did, and then when they would send me the story for those books, they would say, I would be like, I don't understand Tibetan at all, so I would need the story in English, you know. And I was like, oh, that's not so cool, you know. And they'd be like, oh, they would be a little bit surprised, but they were very nice. They helped me out like that. And then I worked like that. And then I was just like, that's when I started thinking about like, because I always had this thing. Remember when I told you about my principal, my studio head telling me about asking about stories from my culture, and then I found like the most famous story from my culture in Tawang was Khandro Drowa Sangmo, right? Because that's where the story originated, right? In Tawang, in the area of Tawang. And then I started going around Tawang, asking my friends, because they studied in TCVs, they studied it, but none of them could tell the story like from beginning to end. Like they were like, yeah, there was a bird, there was a monkey, there's like an evil queen, and like she does something, and then, but then if they were to ask me about Ramayana, I'd be like, you know. Even they know a lot more about Ramayana. And then I realized it's because of the exposure all of us have been getting, you know. Like we see Ramayana everywhere, like our TVs and like when you go on Reels, you just see so much content about all these other cultures. I was like, we don't see content about our culture, I thought. And then, honestly, I started sketching like some pages for Khandro somewhere right there, yeah. But then I also did not have confidence in like my skill level, you know. So I would just sketch and I'd be like, yeah, I want to do a comic. But then I also had thoughts where, what if it doesn't do well, you know? So I think for 2 years I procrastinated. Yeah. So for 2 years the comic now come out. But then after 2 years I realized it's been 2 years now. While that time I was working on other stuff, of course. I was just working for different clients and like nothing that fills my heart, you know. So I was just doing all that. But after 2 years I realized, oh man, it's been 2 years now and the comic is still not out. And if I keep thinking I'm not good enough, it's gonna take another 5 years and I might still feel like I'm not good enough. So I'm like whatever. Now I just work on it and I release like whatever I have. So I worked over the next 3-4 months. I worked really. I tried to I started this. I want to finish it and have like a product out. So I compiled like this 30 pages of my first issue of Drowa Sangmo, and I ended up releasing it. Releasing it in a sense, just like self-publishing it, you know, because nobody was catering to my audience anyway. So I was like looking for a publisher. I was like, it's gonna be a hassle. I don't know if they're gonna accept my book even, because it's also like I'm also like a debut artist, right? So I don't know if they're gonna feel like my book is professional enough, you know. So I just ended up making like this book, and surprisingly,
how was the response?
It was pretty cool actually. Yeah, it was. The best part was that the Arunachali government, they liked the book and they bought half the. I printed like 1,000 copies. They bought 500, yeah, and they said they want to distribute it for free in schools in Arunachal.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and they said if you release the other parts, they'll do that as well. They'll take half the books from there, like 500 sets, 500 copies of each issue, and distribute it among the schools. And then that was already so cool. Plus, I would keep the comics in like one cafe in Tawang, literally one cafe in Tawang. And every month, I would get a decent amount of money from there. I would sell at least like 40-50 copies from that cafe. Because it was also priced like just 200 rupees. And then in my head, I was like, it makes sense, you know. Like a comic book from your region, a creator from your region is making a comic book. And in a place like Tawang, we don't have that many local products, I thought. Everything, like, we don't have like, the industry sector in Tawang it's not the greatest, I thought, you know. So I felt like this does make like a really good gift for like everyone. And like something original, you know. So I thought it's working, you know.
And also something from your own place, you know. Like
yeah, for sure.
Something that belongs to your place.
Yeah, I thought it was such a. I found it really amazing, and then I was like, yeah, it's time now. And then the signature also took a little bit of time. Maybe it took like another 4 or 5 months, and then third and fourth took way lesser. And I could also see the transaction between like the transition from my first, second, third, fourth. The art in my fourth issue was so much better than the first. So I redrew the first even like the next year. I'm like, let me make these drawings better. Even the second, I redrew that, you know. So I felt like this comic series was like decent quality. It might not be my best work, of course, but then I was just so proud to have like a product out there.
I'm sure.
Even I sold some copies in Dharamshala as well, and like it got like orders from left and right, you know. So I was able to sell like around 5,000 copies of like the first Khandro Sangmo issue, and I was like, and I think even my parents were very like, you know, shocked that like, okay, it's doing pretty well, you know, like especially self-published debut artists and like,
Absolutely.
and this whole thing, yeah.
And as you told me that, you know, since the Drowa Sangmo, you know, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, that the kind of Drowa Sangmo play opera, you know, it's something that happened in your Tawang, you know.
Yeah.
So have you been to the place where the Drowa Sangmo, the family, her house and everything?
Yeah. So I haven't been to Drowa Sangmos, but I've been to Hashangs because I went to the area to scout, right?
Ah, okay.
So like, because especially like Hashangs,
Hashang is like, I think
the
the
Duma
Bangchen
Hashang.
Valley, right? and Chimetang.
Chimitang, yeah.
Yeah, Bangchen Valley.
Yeah. So I went there, but then again, there's a lot of, because now I don't know, maybe it's like lack of research on my part, but then the house that everybody claims to be the house of Hashang, when I went there, I looked at it, and then there's a family that lives there right now.
Yeah.
And then they said that everybody says this is it, but then we can trace the ancestry of this house, and this house is not more than 300 years old. So they're saying, and we can even trace it back to the person who built it. So this cannot be the house, they're saying. So
That's
there's,
interesting.
yeah, and they're saying that there's also, the house is elsewhere, it's not here.
Wow.
Now I might have to, now again, it's just so hard because everything is like oral history. When you talk about oral history, everything changes, right, from one person to another. Now if I want to go to actual history, I would have to read that book. Now I don't think I'll be able to read the book because it's probably written in Tibetan there. And I can barely understand, like even if I've studied Tibetan now for like a year and a half, I barely understand even like children's books, you know. I can speak a little bit right now, but then it's still like my Tibetan is just so low, you know.
You know, it's very interesting. Speaking of the Hashang's place, you know, I think years back, you know, I had the opportunity and the privilege to assist one of the Rinpoches from Tawang, from Mun, Thona Khonse Rinpoche, usually referred to as teacher Rinpoche. So we went to the Gorsam Chöte, the Soepa, you know, and Rinpoche, you know, he called me one day, you know, one morning, and he asked me, "Do you know about the Tibetan opera?" You know, and I said, I don't know much about Tibetan opera, but as a child, you know, studying in school, you know, we always go to the Tipa to, you know, to see the shows, you know, to see the opera plays, but we don't know much about the details, you know. And he said that, you know, that do you know the Khandro Drowa Sangmo? I said, yeah, I have a brief sort of knowledge, but I don't know the details. And he said that this is a place where Dimu Hashang, you know, is from, you know. And he also mentioned that the women living in that area, you know, if you notice, you know, they wear the apron on their back, you know. It's very interesting, you know. So he was the one who told me that, you know, this place, you know, is from the Hashang, you know. So when I went back, then I started sort of reading a little bit about the operas. And so that was very interesting for me, you know, like getting to know the plays, being there and seeing the plays, you know. Yeah, that was something. I thought maybe you've been to the place. So
Yeah, that's what I've been, and I went there, and there's so many stories from that place. Honestly, there's so many like stories that are like kind of scary as well. Now, and then when you go there, because Duma Hashang also sounds like a little negative, right? Because Duma means like witch. But then when you look at the story, people also say that she had, whatever she did, yeah, she became a little bit evil at the end, but then she also felt anger because she was actually really nice, they say. Like there are people who say that, right? She's actually very nice, but since the king brought this new wife and she was always loyal to him and had children with this new queen, then of course out of jealousy, out of anger, and when she was like, she suddenly found out about all this and like he's living with this whole new family. Of course we understand that you could get angry, right?
Of course.
So, and then she ended up doing all that, but then it's just, I think that's how oral histories go, I guess now, you know, because when one people, when they describe Duma Hashang in Tawang, they're like, her teeth are so long that it touches the ground, her fangs from her lower teeth are so long that it touches the sky, you know. Like they're like, so I was like, I should probably not draw her like that, you know, and the thing. So I just turned her into like this, like the normal woman, so I took some liberties in my comic as well.
Of course.
Now, I also did want to say that, like, for example, like Gyelsa Bhelsa right now that I've released, some of my, like the book that I'm making, right? I want to emphasize that yes, I'm trying to make sure that people know about your history, right? But I also don't want to be like everything in my book is accurate, like full on, you know. My goal here is to make like an engaging book, not straying too far away from the folk tales, but also making it engaging and fun, so you can kind of like, because for me a really enjoyable factor is like when I can imagine the world, right? So that's what I'm trying to do when I read these stories. I'm trying to imagine the world and visually for you guys, you know, so I draw it out of my book, and then so you guys can take that visual factor, but also not take it as a history book, you know.
So you're
Like-
taking a sort of a little liberty
Yeah,
for yourself, you know.
yeah, because
But do you stick to the root story, or
yeah,
just
so
take some
I take liberties in a sense. For example, like Tana Manalkang, the kingdom of Tana Manalkang, which is present day Tawang. I think it was not very rich back in the day, but in my comic I made it look a little bit grander. You know, made it look a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more. Because maybe it might look really good if it's very authentic, and the king is like really barbaric and nothing is shiny and golden, like their attires are not like that. But then I think that also takes like a higher degree of art skill. So according to my skill, I felt like if I make it look a little bit more nicer and make the people look more beautiful, you know.
Aesthetic.
It's just, for the aesthetic values, I feel like it's more fun to read, you know. Because not everybody's going to read it for like the actual value. They want to read like a fun comic. So I took liberties like that. I really did not change the storylines that much. I guess about it right now. So this one person texted me on Instagram saying that the dates, because I wrote I think 673 BC and the 7th century I wrote, and they were like, no, the dates are a little bit wrong. It's the 6th century and it's not 637, it's 657 something. And they gave me some resources like that. So now what I can do is I can look at these resources and also just like change my dates, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm also thinking what I'm going to do is, because it's hard, like, because already whatever research I'm doing is already taking so much time. If I go so much into the nitty-gritties, you know, it'll take even longer. So maybe I just put it a little bit vaguely, like just like mid 6th, 7th century. So I take liberties like that in my comic. So it's not right, but it's not wrong, but it's not like you know, takta like that, right? So like these kind of liberties, but not crazy liberties, like and like I don't change the story where like, I don't give like another son there, nothing like that. Yeah. So for sure, like in terms of like, of course, because there's a lot of difficulties here and there, especially, and also like when I started out my comic book, I started with like this intention of like, you know, it's gonna be 100% accurate. I'm gonna do so much research, but then when you actually start to work, then it gets like overwhelming, right, after a point. And it's not just because I'm doing the comics right now, but then I get like a quite decent amount of money from like these cafes, but it's not enough to sustain everyday life, you know. So I have to take on other projects always. And honestly, like my friends know me, you know. I'm a little bit of a workaholic right now, because like I come to Dharamshala for like a week, but then every day straight up I'm just like working, and I have my moments when I'm enjoying with my friends. I like to have fun, but then it's just in my mind I'm always like, no, I have to work, because I feel like art is like a difficult thing. It's hard to sell. It's hard to make money off of it. But then I feel like I'm being able to do that right now, and if I'm not grateful for it, if I don't work hard enough, it might get lost. This momentum might get lost, and then I'll be the one crying later, you know. So right now I'm trying to make the best decisions right now, and I'm just trying my best, you know. Right now, as an artist, I'm just trying to like even with like I work with SFT, right, and then so like I've since I joined SFT Tawang, SFT India, SFT Delhi, right? Since I've been working with them, I always realized I'm not the type of person to go out in the front, you know, and like start screaming like be the lead chanter or stuff like that. So I realized what I can do is I can help them through art. So that if they need any help with art, I'm always there. And like since I want to contribute to the free Tibetan movement so much, but then I realized like I'm not a professional activist, you know, I cannot do all of that. But then my own way approach would be like through my comics. I'm thinking if I release my comics, because I think engaging in soft power is just so important, you know. Like just like having your content out there for people to absorb, because this is the era of content right now, you know. So just having that, I think, is also like a big plus for us. If people read the comics, they really feel attached to a character. They feel like that's a really cool character, because there really are differences among. Everybody might think it's just different stories from different cultures, but then when I read Khandro Sangmo for the first time properly, I realized yes, like how much compassion, how much we talk about compassion, how much we talk about ninja, you know, how much we talk about these certain topics in our comics, which other comics don't really talk about. So that is what sets our comics apart, I think.
Yeah.
Our stories apart, sorry,
Yep.
from like these other stories, you know. So that's what I felt like. I feel like if I am able to, because I have this whole plan of doing the eight comic series, 8 Namtars, right?
Yep.
I'm working on the second one right now. So I have this whole plan, and I personally, like, I have so much complaints about my comics because I just see like all the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
But then of course, I also am very proud of like the product that I have out there. But then I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My goal is to just keep getting better and better and
Yeah,
better.
sure.
And by the 8th comic, of course, I really want to have, because even if I work like this and the 8th comic is really good, I can of course make this better again, like like second version, you know.
Absolutely.
Now I can make all this better, and then my goal is to just have these 8 books for Tibetan children all around the world to read, and also others, you know, because it will be in English. And then I want the quality to just be like international standards, you know, not just because I'm from this small town of Tawang and like I'm working from like this small studio without publishers, you know.
Yeah.
Just not because of that, not just because it's like that. I don't want the comics, the levels of the quality to be bad, you know. I want it to be really, really good. So in a way, I'm thinking this is going to be my
Your
contribution, yeah,
absolutely.
towards society, towards the Free Tibetan movement. And just like how K-pop is working, how J-pop is working, you know, how people are reading absorbing all this content, and they feel so much, they support Koreans so much, they support Japanese people so much, you know. I'm thinking, you never know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then it's a thing I'm trying.
There's a huge scope, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that you're planning to work on the 8,
Yes.
and the 8 I think are the sort of the traditional classic 8,
Yes.
you know. And out of the 8, how many have you finished so far?
Just one, Khandro Sangmo. I started.
Drowa Sangmo and Gyelsa, I think.
Gyelsa, Bhelsa, I'm
finished.
working on right now.
Okay.
This year, I finished like the first issue.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this will also be, I have the storyboard done already for like 125 pages, out of which 22 are done, and I've uploaded a digital copy for everybody to read for free, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah, so if people are watching this right now, if they go on my Instagram, if you go to my link and you use the discount code FREE, FREE59, then you can get the comic for free. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And then, so yeah, like right now, it's just my second year that I've started this, right? So Gyelsa Bhelsa I'm working on right now. I want to finish it by the end of this year, have all the parts out so that this comic is done as well. And then next year I keep on moving. And then I also really want to work on like a lot more projects. Like I want to do a book on the creator of the Namtars, like Khandro, you know, because he's also such an important character.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't want to, because I think this will require a lot of research. Like I'm collecting some books right now, I'm reading some books, but then like the Namtars are one thing, but then if I make like a comic which is not accurate about Khandro, I feel like that will not be easily forgivable, you know. So I have these plans in my mind, and I'm just like doing my best so that, like, because no matter what happens, these comics need to be out from my end, because I've already made this commitment within myself. So no matter what happens, I'm going to release them.
Sure.
Even it might take more than 8 years, maybe 9 years, but not more than like, yeah. So since Khandro is already done, in a span of the next 7-8 years now, all the rest of the comics I want to put out.
okay.
Yeah, and my speed is getting better.
Yeah, I'm sure. So recently I heard that you were part of the art installation that was done in the Majnuga Chila. So can you share us about the project?
For sure,
in detail?
Yeah. So the whole event was organized by Khandro Collective, right? Khandro, the Tibetan artist collective based in Dharamshala. Leah, Tashnima, and Tenzamela, right? 3 of them. So I've known Khandro for a while now, and I've seen their works, and I always wanted to be a part of one of their initiatives, you know. When I saw the open call for this mural project in Delhi, in Majnuga, and the topic was March 10, you know, because I felt like I really need to apply for this. I thought it's like a perfect opportunity, because I've been to Majnuga many times, and I see this huge amount of Indian traffic that's going there, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think it's nice. It's good. They're helping us boost our community. They're helping us make money. They're boosting Majnuga name on like Delhi's hotspots, right? But I always felt like none of them care about the Tibet issue. None of them know about the Tibet issue, you know. And then the March 10 topic I thought would be like a very, very good way to introduce them to the struggles of the Tibetan people, or what happened, oral history and everything, you know. And then I had like a little rough idea in my mind, and I applied directly to them. I wrote like my little bio and like what I want to show in this mural, and I submitted like a little artwork, and then I got selected, right? And then Yeah, it was just really really cool. It was an amazing opportunity. We had a lot of the meetings. Like for a month, we straight up had a lot of meetings, discussed the whole thing, and then came up with this layout. So the layout was about we're trying to reenact the 1959 protests that happened in Tibet, but also add modern elements to it because the protests happened in Tibet 1959, yes, 10 March, but the protests have been happening every year since exile, right? Since that year. So so we wanted to add elements like not just from 1959 but also now. So you'll see that people, if you look at the mural over there, you'll see people in like chupas, right? But also I added people from like the modern diaspora, people wearing leather jackets, maybe feather jackets, you know. I had a lot of women there, a lot of grandmas, because you see like even recent protests we can
the
see.
women's uprising.
Yeah, and like literally like grandmas are out there with their children, with their grandchildren, they're walking, they're like, we have to go for this protest, you know. So I try to add all of these kind of elements. I added the Tibetan flag. Now, one special factor I added in that mural was the White Lotus, because I wanted to show that our Tibetan movement is special in that way, because no matter how angry our faces look while we're protesting, because there's a lot of gruesome images on social media, right? When you look up Tibetan protests, but then it has always been that we can inflict harm on ourselves, but never on others, you know? It has always been non-violent in nature, in accordance with His Holiness' commitment to non-violence, right? So I just added that one factor. It was like a little artistic liberty I took, I think. So all of the characters are holding a little flower in their hands, just to show that no matter how we're protesting, it's always in non-violent nature, right? Now, there are two TCB children also I added in the mural. I think we're talking about if you can add the photo, right? So there are two TCB children also in the mural, and there we kind of also want to talk about how this flower means non-violence, but it also means hope, you know, how we're all like, every single time we go for protests, we're not just going there for like, because it's a ritual. Now it's like we always have this hope of a free Tibet, and how this hope is now being passed on to the future generation, right? This new generation of Tibetans that are in TCB schools right now, or like even the Himalayan belt, like this whole thing that's happening right now with like the future succession of the Dalai Lama and everything. So we try to talk a little bit about that as well. So in one, there are two figures there, a boy and a girl. One of the boys is looking at the flowers. So I kind of thought that maybe I wanted to show that some kids are just contemplating about what this hope means. Like how I'm also thinking about what is my role in this movement? What can I do to add to this movement, right? And also some like little girl, the flowers on her head, and she's just looking up at it confused, you know, because sometimes we did not ask for it, you know, like some children, you're just given this huge responsibility of like bearing this torch of like of the Free Tibet movement now, and like you have to be a part of this now, right? So yeah, roughly that's how the mural looks right now, and because there's this element of hope, because there's this element of non-violence, and there's also like dark history, we also added like a little graffiti, because and like the colors of the mural are like, I wanted to show, I drew like a really like big image of a potala, but then in the background you'll see like these shapes which are supposed to be smoke, you know. I put smoke because I kind of wanted to show that Tibet is burning, Potala is burning, you know, and we're in protest. But then I drew it in a nicer aesthetic way, because we also don't want the wall to be so dark, and like we want people to come there and like interact and like take pictures and make it like one of the cool walls in Delhi, right? So we took some liberties like that, and then we added this word called Reva since 1959, because it is that we're like since 1959 we've been having this hope, you know, of like, yeah, we're gonna fight for free Tibet and it's gonna be free one day. So it's not all bleak, it's not all dark. There's also like a light, hopeful element to the mural. So that's what happened, and we did not think that the mural would have such an impact, because we started this project as like a thingy where, as like, because from what I've heard, SFT members in India, they always felt like a mural like this would actually be so cool to have it empty. But then I think not many people believed in that vision. And finally, when this was executed, the people of MT loved it. And the settlement office, they approached the Khadok team and said that they want to do the whole area around the murals.
Nice.
So right now there's talks of designing 6 more murals in that region. And they just love it so much, which is so cool. They want to put down like a new road in that area. They want to put more street lights. They want to put focus lights on the murals, and it's going to be like an alleyway, you know, of like, I don't know, alleyway of freedom. I don't know. Maybe they could do something like that. It could be such a fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely. When I saw the project for the first time, when I saw the mural happening, and I was really pleased, because the wall was there, you know, for the longest time, you know, and it was very underutilized. You know, people were passing by. And when I heard that, you know, that the wall's going to be painted with a mural, you know, then I was like, wow, that's a really good project, because people are usually walk by this. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, and it's
Really
crazy
cool.
because there's a TCB school right there.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
right outside that school, they throw so much garbage.
Yeah.
But now they're saying that's not going to happen anymore. With the new road, they're going to put a lot of garbage cans in that area, and the new street lights and the lamps and like the focus lights. I think it's such a better environment for like the
Yeah.
children as well over there. Yeah.
So how was the response? Like, I mean, from the non-Tibetans, from the media, and I'm sure it must be a huge hub for Insta.
Yeah, I mean, when we were drawing, of course, people are just there taking photos and just
Yeah, I'm
talking to
sure.
us. It was crazy working over there. Honestly, it's like there's so many people.
How long the mural
It took us like
yeah.
9 days.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Because Khandro team was like they want to do an event there on the 9th. So we finished it really. I think we rushed a lot and we finished it really fast. Because I feel like the amount of elements, it was a little bit of an overachievement on our part. We added too many elements that we added, like I think 12, 13 characters. Actually, I blame myself because I did the layout. I was like, yeah, I added too many characters. I was like, yeah, we want to have the Potala there. I also took I wanted the mural to be so nice, right? I explored so much and I put like these little cutouts, which could mean that a CCP is spying, like how this whole thing is working. I also wanted to add like a comic element to it because I do comics. So if you look at the mural, there's like, it's very realistic and like, there's like these cutouts which look like comic panels, right? And then I also added like some hands there, just like cutouts of hands, because I wanted to show like more number of people, because right now there's 12 people, but of course in the protest there were like thousands of people, right? And these cutouts could also mean that if there's 12 people right now, these cutouts I'm trying to show in an artistic expression that there's more people than 12, just 12. So just like all these elements and like the background, which is like huge, there, the two graffitis, it was such a task. But then like SFT Delhi, like these kids, they were just so helpful. Like, yeah, because I was like, we need some people who can help us just fill color on the walls, right? And they really pulled through. Every day they would come, they would just help me in any way, like, me and my team of like three artists and Khadok, they were just there for anything. Like if you want someone to like help us clean the road, clean the garbage off, they were there, like just like wearing their caps and masks and gloves. They were just ready to clean everything. It was, I think SFT Delhi is just such a blessing, man, for Delhi, for MT, I don't know if people recognize it, but then it's so cool because they're all like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, but their willingness to work like this, willingness to be a part of SFT, because no one's getting paid for this, right? But then they all have, it's cool because they all have like a vision and they want to contribute and they want to be a part of like a group like this. And I feel like they're all going to achieve a lot in the future,
I think it sort of came a full circle, like drawing comics from, taking inspiration from the operas. And a lot of the Tibetan operas themes are very similar, like exile, abandonment, a lot of the operas, like the theme is, exile, abandonment, then again, so I think sort of, the March mural sort of encapsulate all the themes together in perfect thing,
Yeah.
So what are the current projects or what are the future projects that one can expect from you in your future? Anything?
I think I should talk about the Tibetan playing cards.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So again, in Youth Tenshu, like how I met you in Youth Tenshu, Youth Festival, right?
Yep.
There was this Chopella from Easy Tibetan, Loplau. There's this page called Easy Tibetan. They have like 30K followers. They're doing really well. And the kind of posts he has are like so simple and so easy to understand. Like even me and all of my friends, we all follow it and we learn new words from there all the time. Easy Tibetan, right? He approached me on Youth Tenshu and then he was like, I was thinking of making like Tibetan playing cards. And then I was thinking of doing Tibetan playing cards for the longest time. And I told him, I have this idea, I want to do this, but then I'm kind of busy at the moment. But then please, like, give me some time and like, let's have a meeting and then I'll tell you what is my idea. Because I always had this thing where I've seen other Tibetan playing cards, or not even Tibetan, like I've seen like other cards here and there. And then, so what they do is like they have the card and they just add like a drawing there, So I think that's cool. But then I always was like, what if we try this thing where, like how the classical bicycle Tibetan cards are, like with the mirror effect. You see like this very, very motive focused cards where it's like a very flat picture, a king or something holding a spear or holding like a, like that whole aesthetic. I've since many years ago, I've been thinking, I want to try something like this. And then when Easy Tibetan came up to me, and they approached me with this project. I was very excited, you know.
Yeah.
So we had a first meeting, and then he was like, honestly, whatever you're saying sounds amazing. He was like, he'll just take care of the Tibetan fonts and like the Tibetan information that is added in the cards, and I have full freedom with the aesthetics and like the designing process of the cards. So that's when I went crazy. I think I looked at like how cards came to be, you know, and what is the significance behind those little 4 shapes. What do the 4 kings, 4 queens, the 4 jacks, the 2 jokers, what do they symbolize? I looked into all of that, and then I ended up making this card where it's just everything is symmetrical, you know, and the mirror effect, and like all of the Tibetan font also is like mirroring each other. And I added like, I tried to, since we're trying to make like really nice premium cards, so like all the shapes also have some engravings in it, you know, and these engravings are all inspired from like this encyclopedia of Tibetan symbols that I have, this book I have, right? I use symbols from there, and nothing religious though, everything is all like just like the fun stuff I used. And then now usually the kings, the 4 kings are supposed to symbolize like David, Goliath, like different kings from like different regions, right? Like King Arthur and everything. But then I thought like our kings we cannot use like in these kind of cards, you know, like because our kings are like Dharma kings, and we like especially the most famous ones, right? So what I did was I just tried to use different outfits from different regions for the men, right? So some of the outfits are like very simple, they're not like crazy grand, and some of the outfits are a little bit more grander, right? Even the queens, I tried to just use outfits from different region, and the jacks, I tried to add like a little mustache, make it a little bit cunning, you know, because of history, like the ministers have always been like the cunning ones. And a joker, Tashi Soepa design I added, and then the number, I had a lot of fun with this. It's currently under production. Easy Tibetan will be selling it. I was just like the artist who was commissioned to design the cards, and then I think it went a little bit viral in the community, right? Like,
Sure.
got a lot of engagement there, and everybody's like, when, and they were like, soon, and now they're like, when, you know? I'm like, very soon. We're having. It's just.
So when can we expect the car?
Honestly, just this morning, I think we submitted the final files. Yeah, we had actually submitted like I think 3 weeks ago, but we had this whole problem with like the vector files and like a lot of problem with like the factories in sense like because we want it to be like really nicely done, but like honestly, if you work in factories in India, man, it's just I've realized that it's so hard, man. They're not accountable like that. They give you like a date, but they don't follow through, and even if you make the payment, it's just such a hassle. So it's always so unpredictable when you work with these factories. That's why I'm like, that's the whole delay. Because from our part, we really were on schedule with everything. But then there's this delay happening right now. But then the car, like the approach that we're doing right now, I think the cars are still going to look very good because we're making sure that no matter what happens, the cards will come out at like this level of quality that we're trying to achieve, you know.
So any timeline you can give, like right now it's March. So
let's say the cards will be produced. I don't know if I should say this because Easy Tibetan is the owner of the brand, right? But then I'm thinking in like 2 weeks the car should be produced. Now logistically, I don't know how long will it take for the cars to reach where, and I don't know what is their plan exactly of like how are they going to sell it. Is it going to be online? Is it going to be in stores? I'm not really sure. But yeah, if you just follow me on my page, I'm telling you there will be an update. You know, like yeah, we're gonna put updates soon.
Great. So any other projects besides the car? Or
Right
maybe
now-
in future, like any project that you really wanted to sort of,
Yeah, for sure.
pursue?
Like there's a lot in my head, of course. Like I said, Tawang, of course, I want to do a project, but that is again in a span of 10 years, I think. I also really want to work on a Tibetan costume book, like a more detailed one, you know, because I've realized that when I'm trying to work on like a comic book, it's just like what do the doctors wear? What like it's a little bit more niche, you know, like if I tell you an example, for example, like Gyelsa Bhelsa, when I'm working on this, when I'm working on the Tibetan part of the story, it takes me forever to look for costume references, right? But for Khandro, right, the Chinese princess, I looked up online and I found a whole movie. So there's like a 2-hour movie based from that era, right? And when she's the queen and how she became the queen and everything. So literally everything is right there. So like in the same way, I cannot produce a movie, but I'm thinking if I can. And then this book also, I think it'll take some time because I don't think I'm ready to create a book like this yet. And I think I'm gonna be working with some people, of course. But then I want to create like a book so that it's like a reference for Tibetan creators, you know, people who are trying to work in this field. So I want to make a book like that. Of course, I have like my whole series of Gyelsa Bhelsa. We're also thinking like the mural in Delhi right now, the one mural that we did,
Yep.
and they want us to do 6 more murals. So we're also in talks about that. So maybe, hopefully, I get to work on one mural for that.
Great.
It's gonna be, let's say, I don't want to reveal too much about that actually,
Sure.
but then it's gonna. I want it to be even better than the one that we already have.
Okay.
Let's see how does that go.
Okay.
Other than that, what else am I? Yeah, I'm going to Nepal for like a Tibetan course this year from uh, June, July, yeah, for
So
these
you're
2
learning
months.
Tibetan?
Again, yeah,
Okay.
I'm just trying to take like a classical course,
Okay.
so I can kind of better my understanding of reading Tibetan texts. You know, so not necessarily. I don't know if I can read Pejas yet, but then it's a beginner level course because my Tibetan just is so difficult for me. But then it's a beginner course that I'm taking for 2 months, and it's a very intensive course as well. So I have to, during that time period, I'll have to navigate like my how will I work on the comics and like release it, you know, because the course is from 9 to 5 every day
Yeah.
for those 2 months. So like a lot of things I have to juggle, but then I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get back in the zone, you know.
Okay. So before we finish the conversation, you know, like let's say, is any kid who's watching, or you know, any kid who's really into comics, drawing, art specifically, is there any word you wanted to leave for them, or any sort of message to the upcoming artists, or anyone who aspires to be an artist like you?
I don't. Let's say. I personally feel like it's hard to make a living out of any career, you know. And artists have it hard, of course, right?
That's the artist dilemma.
Yeah. But then I think the main thing is you just gotta keep working. You just keep, like, of course, take your breaks, you know, have your work-life balance, of course. But you just gotta keep putting in the work. One day, next day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. Because I really see it right now these days. Because back then I would have like one gig, and like maybe in the next 2-3 months I get another gig. But now I see it because I said yes to a lot of things before, you know, because I had like a little plan where I was like, for 2 years I'll work on a lot of projects, whichever sounds cool, and even if I don't get paid much, I still, just to get myself out there, I do that, you know. So I worked on a lot of stuff. I made little money here and there, whatever little money I could make. I kept doing that, and then after a while, after I felt like I'm getting a certain number of gigs right now, I'm gonna put my foot down and be like, I'm only gonna work for this amount of money now. Like, I'm gonna give my best, but then I will select my projects now, and then, so that's when, like, these days I really feel like what I did before was so good that even though when times were rough and it was so difficult, I was not getting enough sleep, I still made sure that I finished whatever projects I was doing and submitted them on a deadline, and like just created this really nice like environment or network of people, right? That now I feel like they know how it is like working with me, and they keep coming back to me, and now I can be a little bit more like, yes, like let's do this together, and they listen to me. And okay, I think I'm ranting a little bit right now, but then what I want to say is that just like have fun, like, especially like if it's a kid, you know,
Yeah.
or like people even my age, you know, like have that balance. But you gotta keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up, keep working, keep working, keep working, keep adding more stuff to your portfolio, keep having products out, just like, and it always helps to have something achievable, you know. It's just like how instead of saying I'm gonna free Tibet, because that's a very hard thing to say, very big thing to say, right? But you can be like, I'm gonna get these many engagements for like this article, for like this little thing that I'm doing, which is going to help the movement, you know. I'm going to get these many people to sign up for my chapter, like stuff like that. I learned this in SFT in action camp, yeah. But like, I think that's what I would say. Just like keep showing up and keep working hard, and like, of course, take your time and rest and have your work-life balance. But yeah, you got to put in the work.
So Lobsang, thank you so much for your time. I really had a wonderful time, you know, conversing with you, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I also want to say that, like,
Sure.
like I told you before, like how when we did the interview in Youth and Shoe, I just thought that like, okay, he's a YouTuber, and then might as well, you know. I just did it like that. But then my family back at home, they've watched this video, and they liked what I said about the comic, and a lot of them did not know that I'm making my comics and I'm selling it. But then they saw the video, they saw my store, they saw my vision, and they really liked it, and they were like, they were really happy. And then even though they never cared about my art career before, now they're kind of like following my art career. They're like, yeah, I think good things are going to happen, you know. And I think that happened because they watched this video, and that's why when you reached out to me saying that you want to do like a longer length, I was more than happy to be a part of this. Yes, I'm so grateful that you're happy. That,
Likewise.
yeah, and
so
also
much.
like the book that you've given me, I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Much appreciate it. Thank you so much, Lobsang. Thank you for your time. Thank you.